to our New Thought Palm Springs. I acknowledge that nothing happens by chance, that we're all here by divine appointment. Do you agree?
Yes.
And we heard the call, didn't we?
Yes.
So if you tuned in at this moment, this message is for you. And we're here in community because we love to feel the energy of community and the heartbeat of humanity within us. That every time we reach out and touch, we feel that connection. We feel that heart connection. And that's why I love our way of life. We are the two or three gathered together for a higher purpose. And what happens in that, with the two or three gathered, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And the synergistic mind of God arises through that. So our theme, the evolution revolution, remembering that it has nothing to do with violence. This is about a spiritual awakening, bringing it back an impactful compassion one to the other. And I believe that we came in with that knowingness. We were born into it, we felt it. We're all divine beings. And along the way, some of us were programmed very differently and then had to unlearn the old programming and to release that and let it return to its native nothingness from whence it came, right? It's only the life and the energy that we give to it. Because the truth is, it's not people, places, and things. It looks like people, places, and things. We want to look outside of ourselves and sometimes blame those people, places, and things, but those were the energies that we needed. That was the grain of sand in our oyster to bring forth the pearl of great price. Do you agree?
Yes.
Those were our greatest experiences. Would we repeat them? Hell no. Oh, God. No way. Right. IDTA, I did that already. Right? So no, we don't need to repeat them because we've learned the lesson on the karmic wheel of time. And once we learned, it's redeemed. The energy is now transcended and transmuted. So we take that energy and we know that our daily life is our temple and our religion. Our daily life is our temple and our religion. Everyone that we touch feels that energy of what we're about. And so are we making it a better place to live in? Are people coming within our energy field? Do they leave healed and uplifted in our presence? And see, to be a beneficial presence is to why people, you would go to Sai Baba in India and they would get something called Shakti. And Shakti is an awakening where he would touch them at the third eye, and there was an awakening, there was a passing of energy, a transmission of this divine energy. But every single day we opened to that transmission of divine energy. We awakened this morning, we took our first conscious breath. Thank you, God. Did we think, oh, shall I get out of bed or not? Gravity may not be there for me, oh my God. Right? No, we just have faith. Gravity's there for us. We put our foot, on the floor. We got up, taking our first conscious breath and saying, thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this moment, this day. I accept my good and my unexpected good. I love that unexpected good, don't you? Love it, love it, love it. I sleep in peace, I wake in joy, and I live in the ever-present moment of now. This is the only moment that we can do anything about. So the evolution revolution is about affecting positive action in the world. It's not about the old paradigms. Don't get ulcers, give them! All those things we used to hear. It's not about competition. And I loved what a very famous author who wrote about the other 90%. He said, there's competing and there is excelling. When you compete, you hope the other people lose so you can win. Then you don't even have to look at yourself. But when you absolutely unfold and excel, you are excelling through your own energies to move to the next level without competing with anyone else, hoping that they're going to lose so you can win. It's a win-win with oneself. I'm growing and unfolding. Look, I saw where I'm feeling a little limited in that area. So we're unfolding to ourselves, knowing that it is a win-win proposition in life, that we're all here by right of consciousness. I saw a documentary recently, it was called The Wheel of Time, and it was a Buddhist film about the Kali Chakra conclave that happens it's called Bodh Gaya, where the Bodhi tree is and Buddha had his enlightenment. And people travel, and it's every 3 years. They travel from all over. One man walked 3,500 miles and prostrating himself. He was a Tibetan monk. In fact, they didn't even quite understand his dialect. It took 2 translators to speak with him. And he said, since I had that journey and I've come into Bodh Gaya, I have felt such a serenity move through me. And I thought, how beautiful that someone would go to all of that. That's a lot of energy for 3.5 years to go thousands of miles, right? Prostrating oneself. But that's what it took for him to meet that moment, to experience that Buddha nature, to have that sense of serenity. And the truth is, when Dr. Ernest Holmes, this is why I absolutely love our way of life. Dr. Ernest Holmes says, truth realized is instantly demonstrated. The moment we have that realization, it may have taken us 25 years for the realization, but once we have it, it's instantaneous. Or we can open ourselves to it every single day of our lives. Truth realized that we're all one, that it's not about competing with one another. It's about the flow of life. It's about excelling within ourselves. It's about unfolding within ourselves. And on this documentary, there was this Buddhist monk who bought 5 birds from a little boy selling birds. And they were doing the money exchange, and then he took the birds and they put them in a little sack with, little holes. And he opened up the sack and he let them fly out. And the moderator said, I noticed you bought birds and then you set them free. Why did you do that? And he said, well, in order to fully access one's Buddha nature, we must have freedom to do that. Every sentient being is a prospective Buddha. And I thought, the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness, the holy I am presence, it's all the same. That truly, when Moses looked at that burning bush, you can just imagine. And remember, Moses was a human being, and he had to do the whole redo thing with the 10 Commandments. He got so upset. But when he looked at that burning bush and said, who are you? What are you? And the voice of I am answering, cast off your shoes, for where you stand is holy ground. Nothing and no thing comes between us and our spiritual knowingness. We cast it aside. That's what all those old biblical verses, we get so, the literal translation, to cut off your hand if it offend thee and all that. It means let that go. Allow it to return to its native nothingness. It doesn't mean to literally cut one's hand off. It means release it. It no longer serves you. Allow that which serves you to bubble up. Let the birds, the freedom of your flight, just soar. And yes, a thing can only go higher if it's gone deeper, because there is a form of bamboo tree, and it's watered and it's nurtured and it's fertilized and it's watered and it's nurtured and it's fertilized and it's watered and it's nurtured and it's fertilized. Nothing happens for 7 years. But in the 7th year, it grows 100 feet. Talk about a root system, right? It grows. It can only go higher because it's gone deeper into the soil, the consciousness within us, that we can open to the universe, because we know from whence we cometh and whither we goeth. We know that we've been on a journey. We know that we've passed each other many times on our journeys, one to the other. And that when we open that space, something happens. I love what Julian Hernandez posted on Facebook. It was so powerful and so profound. He said, with all the Facebook feeds, with all the shootings and the killings and the things that are going on the planet, that it is so tempting to move down to that lower vibratory frequency and to live there. And I want you to know, I am saddened when these things happen. I'm not one of these new thought airheads that go, oh, it all will work out, it's fine. I don't do that. I grieve what I feel are my losses. And I go within. Sometimes, it evokes tears. For every tear that falls, a flower grows in the consciousness of our own hearts and souls. The tears are cleansing and powerful, so that we can then take action and say, is there anything I can do? If so, what is it that I can do, if there is anything? Because I'm feeling sometimes out here in the wilderness all by myself, don't we though? Yeah. What can one person do? One person begins the shift within themselves to open compassion. And Buddha said, if you do not have compassion for yourself, your compassion is incomplete. How can I really love you if I don't love me? I love that Lee Jason Friend did a whole summer of love. Every single day was a beautiful graphic and a statement of love. I love what RuPaul said. If you don't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Right? And only a way that she can say it, right? Of course, my son-in-law says, what's that black woman doing in that white woman's body every time I give a talk? You know, I guess somehow they don't think that if you're a white woman, you're very expressive, but I am a Leo and I have Jewish heritage, so, you know, work it out. So when we come to that place where we know that we know that we know, something happens. And this happened to Snoop Dogg, the old rapper, and The Game. Now, I've never heard of The Game, but I have heard of Snoop Dogg, because Snoop Dogg was on Mama Oprah. And Mama Oprah interviewed him and said, you're a rapper and you've got horrible, horrible verses in your rapping, and it's not very flattering to women or acknowledging, and how you can put that out into the universe, it's all going to come back to you. And you could see that his wheels were turning. This is Mama Oprah, and we're going to have a come to Jesus talk right here and right now. That doesn't serve. How does that serve you, putting that energy out into the world? He took it in, right? And he said, I guess I'm going to have to redo my game. I'm going to have to redo my game and rethink it. So Snoop Dogg and The Game looked at all of this violence going on with all the young men of minority, and mainly black, with all the law enforcement killings, you know, shoot before you ask kind of thing. And yet they are triggering within them is symbolic of, you know, you might get shot. And so it's fear-based, isn't it? Yeah. So they react. They don't, you know, it's a survival of the fittest, really, in the blackboard jungle. So here's two rappers, very famous, multi-millionaires. What can we do? And they said, we can create a march. We can go into the law enforcement agency, to City Hall. We'll create a march for peace, and we'll have a dialogue and a conversation here. So they created this march, marched into LA, to City Hall, created a dialogue, and became part of the greater dynamic of peace and how to affect peace in such a volatile, and it is such a volatile energy field with so much going on. And these two rappers decided that we're going to affect change. This is how the evolution revolution begins. It's we take action. We put the works with the faith. Because we can talk a good game, right, until we're blue in the face. But faith without works is what? Dead. Putting the works with the faith. Let's create a dialogue here. So he took to heart all those years ago that he was on Oprah. Seeds were planted. He took it to heart. He started making a shift within his consciousness. Because when Mama Oprah says it, you better sit up and listen, right? And they did this beautiful march. And the press has this picture of the Los Angeles mayor, Eric Garcetti. He and Snoop Dogg are hugging. And you can see that it is an embrace. It's an embrace of compassion. It's an embrace of caring. So I love, in our own modern day society, we're looking at what can we do? And yet here, you know, these are young men that can make a difference in their black community. And that difference is going to ripple out in waves so that there's not a feeling of victimhood, There's not a feeling of that sense of that amazing fear-based energy, which both feel. We can come to a place of understanding, and I believe that can happen in our lifetime. I'm a child of the 60s. I was the original, flower power. Not a hippie because we worked, but we were into flower power. And we were into peace, and we were the game changers, we of the 60s. We were activists, we were peace activists. And I remember that my husband, the late Neil Stroud, he had his class, which was minorities, English as a second language, but mostly Black and Hispanic. And he had them collect cans, for recycling. And they would pay their own way through their recycling to Magic Mountain. And it made them, they had like a sense of self-esteem that they were actually affecting change in their own life. And he says, it starts, and it was 5th grade, he says, it starts when they're young, to feel the esteem that they can put the works in the faith and they can make a difference. And so when Julian interviewed me this week on the Evolution Revolution, I wrote him a little text and I said, so how is the video going? And he said, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I sound, I don't like what I said, I don't like the way this and the way that. I know it's from childhood, but I just can't help it. And I wrote back and said, you have a beautiful resonant speaking voice. You did very, very well. This is a childhood programming. I will do some spiritual treatment for you. So then I get another text from Julian, and he is behind the camera, and this time, he was in front of the camera. The first time he's ever been in front of the camera. I want that video out there tonight. I want that video tonight, okay?
I watched the whole thing.
It was fantastic. He was absolutely wonderful in front of the camera, interviewing, his minister. And so he said, I watched it again. Actually, I sounded pretty good. He said, I need to speak more clearly. He said, that's easy. That's very easy to handle. But as I listened to it objectively, I liked what I heard. So when we give ourselves a second chance of compassion and not judging ourselves and looking outside of ourselves that I should be, this amazing speaker or whatever, that we conducted a beautiful interview. And the interaction was heartfelt. It was about the Evolution Revolution. It was about opening the space. It was about opening so that the birds can fly out of their little, sack of energy to the truth of who and what they are. It's about knowing at the deepest level that every single day is my opportunity to realize truth. Truth realized is instantly demonstrated. Never limit our view of life by any past experience. It's a new day. And where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.